Recap of Nobody 2021 in English. Spoilers ahead. Nobody 2021 full recap. Basic info and setup. Nobody 2021. Director Ilya Naishuller. Writer Derek Kolstad. Stars principal cast: Bob Odenkirk as Hutch Mansell, Connie Nielsen as Becca, his wife Christopher Lloyd, Riza, Alexei Serebryakov, among others. Genre tone: action crime thriller, with some dramatic tension and dark humor. The plot centers on a quiet man whose suppressed past and skills explode into violence when provoked. Plot recap and key beats. Here's how the story unfolds, organized in stages with important events, turning points, and character arcs. Ordinary life and inciting incident. Hutch Mansell is introduced as an ordinary, unremarkable suburban dad and husband. He lives with his wife Becca and 2 kids, teen son Blake and young daughter Abby, Sammy, in some sources, in a quiet neighborhood. His life is filled with routines, commuting, family duties, work. There is emotional distance, especially with Blake. Hutch often seems overlooked or underestimated. He works for his father-in-law Eddie, in a metal factory business. Eddie's son, Hutch's brother-in-law, Charlie, is more assertive, alpha male in the family. Hutch's relationships are strained by past wounds and by his decision to step away from whatever skills he once had. The first trigger. Late at night, 2 burglars break into Hutch's home. The thieves steal some cash and trinkets, including Abby's kitty cat bracelet. Hutch has the opportunity to stop them. He even picks up a golf club, but he holds back, not because he lacks ability, but because he calculates restraint will prevent escalation. Everyone, including his son, sees his inaction as weakness. After the burglars leave, Hutch feels shame, guilt, and unresolved anger. Blake is disappointed. Becca withdraws. Hutch's frustrations build. But the second instigating event happens. Abby's bracelet is missing, prompting Hutch to track it down. Emergence of the other life. As Hutch searches for the bracelet, he discovers hints that his life was not always this ordinary. He retrieves a radio and communicates with his brother Harry, who lives off-grid, in hiding. Hutch also stores old gear, weapons, papers, gold and cash stashes, evidence of his previous identity as an auditor, a violence-trained, highly capable man. Meanwhile, Hutch intervenes in a confrontation on a bus. A group of intoxicated or aggressive men harass a woman passenger. Hutch steps in, initially reluctant, then fights back fiercely. This fight reveals his fighting skills. He uses improvised weapons, shows tactical awareness, brutal force. During the fight, one assailant is gravely wounded. Turns out this attacker is connected to Russian mob crime boss Julian Kuznetsov. Once Julian learns of the attack, his brother is hurt. He sends a crew after Hutch. The crime bosses, Obshik, fund, their common fund, is involved, raising stakes. Hutch becomes a target. He hides his family and readies himself. The safety of his wife and children is now directly threatened. Confrontation, retaliation, and awakening. Julian's men try to kill Hutch or capture him. Hutch fights back, aided, in some sequences, by his father David, a retired agent, his brother Harry, and others. He leverages his past training, his hidden caches. The action escalates. Chase, gunfire, brutal hand-to-hand combat, tactical ambushes. Hutch decides he cannot go back to being nobody. Hutch acquires store money and gold from a hidden stash, uses it to buy his father-in-law's factory. He booby-traps it. He burns Julian's, Obshik, money, i.e. the mob's reserve funds, which is a strong symbolic act, destroying the power base of the crime boss. At the factory showdown, Hutch and his allies face waves of Julian's men. Hutch uses a variety of tricks and surprises, booby traps, shielded positions, defensive tactics. His father, David, participates and displays his own skills. The violence is brutal and unrelenting. At one point, Hutch uses a claymore mine, an explosive, in a confrontation with Julian under protected cover. This leads to Julian's death. Hutch is wounded in the process. Resolution and aftermath. After the final fight, the authorities arrive. Hutch is arrested, battered and bruised. The interrogation room scene from early in the film returns. He is questioned. But due to some intervention, calls to FBI, perhaps influence or bureaucracy, or legal ambiguity, Hutch is released without charges. Some months later, life returns closer to normal. Hutch and Becca are house hunting. There is some renewal in their relationship. However, he receives a call, suggesting that his past, his identity, or threats might not be entirely behind him. That question, does the place have a basement, is loaded, hinting he is still preparing. In a mid-credits or closing scene, his brother Harry and father David are shown armed and traveling in a family van camper setup, implying that their world of covert capability is still active. Character arcs and themes. These are major character arcs and thematic elements that nobody explores. Hutch Mansell. His arc moves from suppressed frustration to reawakened identity. He struggles between wanting to be a peaceful family man and being capable of violence. His past skills and identity as an auditor, hitman are suppressed but not gone, they are awakened by injustice and threat. Family and domestic pressure. Hutch's relationships with his wife Becca and children are strained by what he is not saying, what he has hidden, and what he believes is expected of him. The burglary, the bracelet, the bus fight, they all test how much family trust, safety, and love matter relative to strength and reputation. Identity and redemption. Hutch's journey is partly about redeeming himself, not from wrongdoing exactly, but from being seen as nobody. It's also about reconciling his violent past with his present, balancing who he was with who he wants to be. Violence and consequence. The film shows that violence has costs, not just physical, but moral, relational, emotional. Hutch is wounded, tired, but through that also reclaims power. Legacy and brotherhood. His father David and brother Harry represent both his past and his lineage, a family skilled with violence, but one that also values family. They reinforce Hutch's choices. Justice versus vengeance. A recurring tension. Some of Hutch's actions are personal vengeance for wrongs done, others are more about protection or stopping further harm. The film often blurs lines between right and wrong, vigilante action and self-defense. Memorable scenes and action highlights. A few scenes that stand out. The home invasion, the initial moment that stirs everything else. Hutch's choice not to attack, calculating restraint, sets up his internal conflict. The bus fight, where Hutch intervenes to defend a stranger. This sequence sharply shows his hidden physical capacity, tactical reflexes, and begins his path back to action. The factory showdown and object burning the mob's money, the ambushes, using traps. These visuals and set pieces are among the film's most dramatic. The final confrontation with Julian, including the use of explosive devices. Very cinematic. Strengths and criticisms from reviews. Strengths. Bob Odenkirk's performance is praised, able to balance everyman vulnerability with intense physicality. The pacing, especially once the plot ignites, is tight. The action choreography gets credit. The film doesn't overstay its welcome, but delivers satisfying fight and violence scenes. Criticisms. Some reviewers note that the plot is familiar, a man with a secret past forced back into violence. Some scenes require suspension of disbelief. Also, emotional resolution is somewhat swift. Sometimes character motivations are driven by plotting rather than deep exploration. If you liked it, subscribe to my YouTube channel.